Hey, welcome back to Spring Into Math 5. This is Mr. Stein. As you know, we're wrapping up 5 with the review of Part 2. Okay, so we're finishing up. We're in the home stretch. We're still talking fractions. Fractions are fun, so it's kind of great. Here we go. How do we multiply mixed numbers? Because mixed numbers involve wholes and parts, multiplying mixed numbers requires an extra step. Big deal. Easy. It is essential that you convert mixed numbers to an improper fraction before you multiply, and that's that extra step. You just have to go back to the skill you already learned and convert it, because you got to take that mixed number into an improper fraction, then you multiply, and then of course, unfortunately, convert it back. All right. So once you have the mixed numbers in the improper fraction form, you're going to multiply the numerators and then multiply the denominators. And if you have an improper fraction as your product, you're going to convert it back into a mixed number as your final answer, and then simplify if necessary. Now, as we talked before, once you turn mixed numbers into improper fractions, then you multiply them, you're going to have an improper fraction because the top numbers are going to be bigger on both improper fractions. That's part of being top heavy of an improper fraction. Then you're going to get a larger improper fraction, or actually maybe smaller, but your numbers on top are going to be smaller, or larger than the numbers on bottom, so you know you're going to have to convert that back. Okay, so let's look. 3 1/2 times 2 1/3. So first we convert each to an improper fraction. We take our denominator 2, multiply it by our whole number 3 in our first fraction, of course. Plus 1 is 7 over 2, and we're going to do the same thing with 2 1/3, and we're going to get 7 and 7 over 2. Okay, so you can see I kind of wrote it wrong, but you guys get the idea. Now, next we're going to multiply the two improper fractions. So we have 7 halves, or 7 over 2, times 7 thirds. So 7 times 7 is 49. 2 times 3 is 6. So we have 49 sixths. Now we're going to convert back to an improper fraction. So we take 49 over 6. We take 49 and we divide 6 out. We get 8 with 1 left over. Because 6 times 8 is 48, we have 1 more. So then we have 8 wholes and then 1 over 6. So we have 8 and 1/6. All right. So you've learned a couple things about dividing fractions. One is to divide fractions, we have to use the inverse operation, which is multiplication. Remember, inverse is opposite. And the second fraction is going to be its reciprocal or opposite, so we're going to flip it. Now, how do we divide a fraction by a whole number? To divide a fraction by a whole number, we have to think about what we're actually being asked to do. We're being asked to take a part of something and split it up. So let's look at an example so that we can make sense of this. So we have 1/2 divided by 3. So this problem is asking us to take 1/2 and divide it into 3 parts. So here's a picture, and this could help you kind of figure out what it looks like. So we have here, this is 1/2. If we're going to divide 1/2 into 3 parts, how much was going to be in each part? So we've sliced it up into, each part into 3, and so you can see that each part is 1/6 of the whole. If we go back to this other slide, the easy way to do it is when you're dividing it by 3 is just slice it like this. And you're looking at the same thing just in a different way. Each section has 3 pieces just like this, but it was much easier to figure out. Okay, we can do this without drawing a lot of pictures as well. So this is where multiplication of the reciprocal comes in handy. So we have 1/2 divided by 3. All right, so we put 1/2 divided by 3 over 1 because we always put that whole number on top of 1, and then we keep the 1/2, change the division to multiplication, and flip the 3 over 1 into 1/3, and we multiply across. 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, we can also divide a whole number by a fraction. When we divide a whole number by a fraction, we're taking a whole and dividing it into new wholes. So let's look at an example of this so that we really understand it. So we have 1 divided by 1/2. Now at first glance, you're going to think that this answer it would be 1/2. But it actually isn't. We get kind of tricked into that. So let's look at a picture and I'll really kind of illustrate what I mean. So you're going to divide 1 whole by 1/2. So now you're going to have 2 1/2 sections, so your answer is 2. Still a little weird, so let's look at it a different way in a moment. So we can test this out by using the rule that we've learned in the last section. We're going to change to multiplication, and then we're going to change the second fraction to its reciprocal. Keep, change, flip. Now, we're going to keep 1, and we're looking at dividing by 1/2. So we're going to keep 1, and we're going to put it over 1 to make it an easy fraction for us. We're going to change the division sign to a multiplication sign, and you can see that there. And then we're going to flip that fraction. So 1/2 is going to turn into 2 over 1. Then we're just going to multiply across. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. So we have 2 over 1. Well, 2 over 1, 2 divided by 1 is 2. So that's why you're going to get 2. Okay, we've been dividing whole numbers by fractions and fractions by whole numbers. So we can also use what we've learned when dividing a fraction by another fraction. We've been doing a ton of this. So here's the rule, as you've seen before. As you can tell, I'm going over that rule and over that rule and over that rule because it's so important to remember. So to divide fractions, 1, change to multiplication. 2, change second fraction to its reciprocal. Keep, change, flip. Okay, we have 1/2 divided by 1/3. Keep the 1/2. Change to multiplication, flip to 3 over 1, and then we must just multiply. 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 1 is 2. We have 3 over 2, 3 halves. Well, if you have 3 halves, you're going to have, 1 whole and a half, but let's just make sure. So we have 3 divided by 2 is 1 with the remainder of 1, and we put that over our denominator of 2, so we have 1 and 1/2. Okay, all right, wrapping it up with this one. We have 8 over 9 divided by 1/3. So keep the 8/9. Change to multiplication, flip it to 3 over 1. 8 times 3 is 24. 9 times 1 is 9. Now, got to change that improper fraction back to a mixed number. 24 divided by 9, well, it's going to go in 2 times with 6 remaining. So we have 2 and 6/9. Now, it's time to reduce. 6 over 9. We know they can get smaller. 6 can't go into 9, but 3 can go into both. So we're going to pull 3 out. We're going to say 6 divided by 3 is 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. I got ahead of myself. 9 divided by 3 is 3. We have 2/3, so we have 2 and 2/3. All right. That's going to do it for this chapter. Check any videos that you need. I know you guys by now got this. See you next time.